on behalf of our community. The story we're going to share today is one of those profound stories, and it's called Pooh and Piglet Go Hunting and Nearly Catch a Woozle. We all learn through stories, and this part of the service is adapted from the Spirit Play curricula that our elementary school children will be enjoying this fall. And in this curriculum, each Sunday, our children will hear a story, and then they'll be asked, as we will be asked in a couple of minutes, wondering questions. I wonder if. This story is for children and grown-ups, so we'll all be sharing our thoughts at the end. So I want to remind you that Piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree. And the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and Piglet lived in the middle of the tree. Next to his house was a piece of broken board that read, "Trespassers W" on it. When Christopher Robin asked Piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said you couldn't be named Trespassers W. And Piglet said, of course you could, because that was his grandfather's name. And it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William. And his grandfather had two names just in case he lost one. Trespassers after he Pooh. Hunting what? Tracking something, said Winnie the Pooh, very mysteriously. Tracking what? Piglet said, coming closer. That's just what I ask myself. I ask what? Do you think you'll find an answer? Well, I shall have to wait until I catch up with it, said Winnie the Pooh. Now look there. He pointed to the ground in front of him. What do you see there? Tracks? Paw marks? Said Piglet. He gave a little squeak of excitement. Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozle? It may be, said Pooh. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. You never can tell with paw marks. With these few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after it. Winnie the Pooh came to a sudden stop, and bending over the tracks in sort of a puzzled way, "What's the matter?" asked Piglet. "It's a very funny thing," said the bear. "But there are now two animals. This whatever it is has been joined by another whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way and said that he really didn't have anything to do until Friday and would be delighted to come in case it really was a woozle. "You mean in case it's two woozles," said Winnie the Pooh. And Piglet said that was okay because anyhow he didn't have anything to do till Friday. So off they went together. There was a small spinney or group of large trees just here, and it seemed as if the two woozles, if that's what they were, had been going around the spinney. So round the spinney, Pooh and Piglet went. Piglet passing the time, telling Pooh what Grandfather Trespasser's W had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather, Trespasser's W, had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath. And he shared other matters of interest. And Pooh was wondering what a grandfather was like. And perhaps if this was two grandfathers, he would be allowed to take one home and keep it. And what Christopher Robin would say. Still, the tracks went on in front of them. Suddenly, Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of him. "Look!" "What?" Piglet said with a jump. And then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped a couple of other times, pretending he was exercising. "The tracks," Pooh said. "A third animal has joined them now." "Pooh," asked Piglet, "do you think it is a woozle?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. It's either two woozles and one as it might be whizzle, or two as it might be whizzles and one, if it's so, woozle. Let's continue to follow it." So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now in case the three animals in front of them were of hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather, T.W., were there instead of elsewhere. And Pooh thought how nice it would be if maybe Christopher Robin would just sort of happen by, because, Christopher Robin was his friend. And then all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling very hot and anxious, more so than in his whole life. There were four animals. "See, Piglet?" so it seemed to be. There were tracks crossing over each other here and getting muddled up with each other there. But quite plainly, every now and then you could see 4 sets of paws. I think, said Piglet, when he licked the tip of his nose too and didn't find any comfort in that. I think I've just remembered something. I forgot to do yesterday, and I can't do it tomorrow. So I suppose I really ought to go get back and do it now. We'll do it this afternoon, and I'll go with you, said Pooh. It isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon, said Piglet quickly. It's a very particular morning thing that has to be done in the morning, and if possible between the hours of, what would you say the time was? About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sky. Between this, I was saying the hours of 12 and 12:05. So really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me, what's that? Pooh looked up at the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of a big oak tree. And then he saw a friend of his. It's Christopher Robin, he said. Then you'll be all right, said Piglet. You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye. And he trotted off as quickly as he could home, so that he was very glad to be out of danger again. Christopher Robin slowly came down out of the tree. Silly old bear, he said. What were you doing? First you went around the spinney twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went around again together, and then you were just going around a 4th time. Wait a minute, said Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought in the most thoughtful way that he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks, and then he scratched his nose and stood up. Yes, said Winnie the Pooh. I see now. I've been foolish and deluded, and I'm a bear of no brain at all. You're the best bear in the world, said Christopher Robin. Am I? Said Pooh hopefully. And then he brightened up suddenly. Anyhow, it's nearly luncheon time, and so he went home for it. So I wonder, what was the most important part of the story? What was the most important part to you? Dixie.
Finding out things you worry about don't need to worry about.
Finding out that the things you worry about, you don't need to worry about. Yes, I keep learning that lesson over and over. Mary. Yeah, we all have our own personal woozle and whizzle and, yeah. Our anxiety about job advancement, perhaps, or our worry about how our families are doing. Worrying about things in the world that we can't change, but we can do certain things to try to help them change. But it's not all up to us. One of my teachers this summer when I was studying with him said, you know, one of the things I have to decide every day is this mine to do? We often create problems for ourselves by taking on what is not ours to do. So I wonder if we, well, I think we've answered this. Have we been scared by things that we couldn't see? I think we've all been in that existence. I wonder why Piglet went home.
He came to his limit of fear that he could tolerate, and we had to go.
Yes, so he, in one sense, he was an imperfect friend because he had reached the anxiety level that he could cope with.
But he was still very.
He was still a very good friend, and he waited until Piglet and Christopher Robin connected. So how difficult is it for us when we're under a huge amount of stress to say, you know, this is all I can handle. I need help, or I need to remove myself from a situation because it's really destructive for me. And sometimes that takes a huge amount of courage because it may mean, you know, moving out of a job, it may mean moving out of a neighborhood, it may mean choosing to live in another way. I mean, I've shared with some of y'all, I mean, one of my heroes is one of our students at Clemson who looked at his life after his freshman year and said, I'm hanging out with people who I don't want to be like. So he chose to live by himself last year and very intentionally chose a different group of friends, which is how he started coming to fellowship and to the Tuesday Buddhist meditation group. But that takes a lot of courage to say, here are my boundaries. Because sometimes life rushes us by so often that we don't stop and take a deep breath and re-examine who we are and how our life is shaped. And say, no, this isn't who I want to be. But it's hard to do that alone. We need those friends. And we need, I think, also a community of people who can support and nurture us. So I wonder how we have either supported or been part of a conversation like this, either with ourselves or another friend. How have we been able to support friends as they've had to go through changes in their lives? So I wonder what we need to learn about our own lives from this story. What are some lessons that we might learn?
Are the importance of friends?
The importance of friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. Andy?
The importance of friends that lift us up, not bring us down.
The importance of friends who help lift us up rather than bring us down.
How about the friends that stop us from
only to listen to our friends, but take time out of our busy days to listen to ourselves. Sarah?
I was just gonna say, everybody is afraid at one point or another.
Everyone
Everyone has fear at one point or another.
Everyone has fear at one point or another, and acknowledging that as part of our humanity. Will?
To let go and have lunch.
To let go and have lunch, or at least coffee hour. So I think that's a wonderful way of tying up toward the end of our service. And, you know, one of the things that's important is that, as we said, every one of us has fear, and sometimes we keep them as secrets. And what we need to understand is sort of like we were saying, that going around in circles, we need those friends who can articulate for us when we need to rethink our lives and not to be overwhelmed by our fears. Our friends can help us find strength, or as Milne wrote, you can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you. You have to go to them sometimes. So reaching out when we need help. So the reality is that part of what we do here as a community is to find people who can walk beside us to give us strength. We need to have the courage to move forward in our lives, to take one more step to continue to find peace and courage.